There we go. We're live. Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's show. We'll give folks a second to hop on. But yeah, Lance, welcome to the show. It's exciting to have you on here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. This is pretty cool. Excited.
Yeah, super excited. Super excited to talk tonight. We have been friends since Lit RPG Con.
Yes.
I feel like I'm advertising the con pretty much every podcast. Like we met at Lit but like you and I, we really bonded. We've hung out a few times in person after Lit RPG Con, and yeah, it's been good.
We have a bond. Yep.
Yeah, we do. And I'm so excited. I've got the physical copy here. I've got the book up on the screen, but Arcane Tides, A Journey Within is your debut novel. Congratulations, man. You've done it. You've got a real book.
Yeah. It's still unreal at times. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're an author." And I'm like, yeah. But it's cool because like the kids, they'll come and grab a copy and take it off to their rooms or whatever. So it's very surreal. So
yeah. I mean, if you ever stop feeling that surrealness about being an author, let me know, because I still feel it myself. Like it's just like, yeah, I've put out a couple books and now I'm, I don't know. It's just the wonder of it never goes away.
It's good to know. Got that to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I've read the book over the last, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks, which is a bit longer than I normally take to read a book. You guys know me. I'm reading a lot. I'm speed read a lot, but this one was a slow read, not because it was bad at all, but because it was like thick in a emotional way. And there's times where I like read a chapter and I was like, okay, that's it. That's what I'm gonna read tonight. Just one chapter, because just it had some oomph to it. So let's dive in. So your book's pretty unique. It follows a mage after his career as a soldier and an adventurer. He's full of heartache, and his magic has actually deserted him. It's kind of dried up. It's a fantasy book. It's not a lit RPG, and it's from this perspective that the mage's journey within is the focus, and like how he learns how to reclaim himself and like move on in life. And the perspective is really interesting. We're going to get into it, but there were a lot of moments where in a traditional fantasy novel, the focus would have been on the quest or that like next reach for the monster, the battle, the whatever. But this was really about the mage's personal journey. And in some respects, sometimes I'm like expecting that we're going to do this quest chapter, and it just takes a right turn, and it's he's back at home kind of thinking about his day and like overcoming his anxiety about taking the quest. I mean, it's a very cool perspective for me. So let's dig in. So yeah. So just first, Lance, how would you like people to address you, Mr. Author? Lance, how do you want people to call you when you come to the next con?
Lance is fine. If we're in the D&D group, Cowman is acceptable. That's another one.
Yeah.
I
mean, I can't call you Cowman at
JordanCon.
Yeah, okay.
our little reference, but yeah, I mean, Lance is fine. I still do not feel confident enough to put myself out there as far as like that title, which anybody that's read the book, like I'm kind of past claiming titles. So it's just like, oh yeah, that's something I did. I just want to come like hang out with everybody and enjoy the atmosphere.
Yeah. That's fair. If somebody brought your book up to you at a con, would you sign it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good. Whether or not you're an author, you should be able to sign your own work, right?
Yeah, I think recently, like I've had a couple of people like surprise me out in public, and I went to a convention. It was a trading card convention a couple weeks ago, and we were meeting up with a group of friends from high school, and one of the people that showed up brought a copy of my book and wanted me to sign it. And it was so out of character because like they don't read, they don't own books, and they're like, I really want to read this. I want to support you. Can you sign it? And as I'm signing it, I'm like, man, I really got to think of something to put in the book, kind of like when you did when you're in high school. You're like, oh, have a great summer. Enjoyed you in science class. And so we're sitting there eating breakfast at Wendy's, and I was like, enjoy your Baconator. And that was like the high point of our breakfast. And like for the next 20 minutes, that's all we talked about. And it was like, I don't know, just having that camaraderie and having people that support you after you haven't had it for a while, it's absolutely the best.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's I'm glad you've got some of your first signatures under your belt, and that it's one of the things that in my personal dream of being an author someday, no part of me considered that people would bring their book up to you and want you to sign it. It's not a weird interaction. It's really nice.
Very
But it's
humbling.
not something I expected or planned for. So yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get into the book. In Arcane Tides, your main character, Aldrin's journey isn't about kicking monster butt. He's broken and trying to figure out how to get just up in the morning and go forth in the world, which I think a few of us can relate to. Can you talk to me about what made you start with the main character that's so broken? I mean, a lot of stories are around the breaking of the characters, not
Mhm.
around somebody who's already broken.
Yeah, so you kind of hit it right there. When I sat down to start writing, I didn't think this is what I would write. Um, but because it is so real. So, like we've all read the stories of people becoming powerful and like leveling up and about discovering their hidden strengths or hidden powers and then rising to that moment. And I wanted to write in a way where what happens after that? Like what's next? And so I wanted to start past all the accolades and what happens when you were strong, you were powerful, you were a leader, you were like whatever the accolade is. What happens if something breaks? What if that all goes away? So with Eldrin's story, it picks up after all those battles, after all the titles he's earned, after all the victories. He's already proven himself. So he's really done all the heroic things. He's got all those achievements. But now, like, he goes back home and it's the quiet aftermath of all that, right? Which for me as a veteran, things that I did not realize that I would bring home even years later, like PTSD, anxiety, depression, that stuff like lingers. And so it's really that aftermath and the wear and tear on his body, the grief in his memory, and like the silence where his magic used to live is now gone. So he isn't trying to save the world. He's literally, like you mentioned, he's literally trying to get out of bed in the morning and not feel like a failure, which is really identifiable for a lot of people that deal with mental health issues. Um, so he's trying to reconnect with the very thing that once defined him, which is his magic, right? So he's lost that. So he's trying to figure out where that disconnect happened, only to kind of realize that maybe his worth was never supposed to be tied to it in the first place.
Yeah.
So looking at the story from that viewpoint, it really hit me personal, and that's why, like you said earlier, like it is a very emotional driven story, and it was hard to write. Even as I went through it, I was learning things about myself as I was trying to figure out where Eldrin was going. So, we all kind of go through those changes, and we've all kind of gone through it. Like when your career shifts, when your body doesn't respond to the way you used to. As we get older, things start to break. But like when your strength looks different than when it once did. We just talked about it before we started that, 20 years ago, I could run 4 or 5 miles, not a problem. Go play basketball, not a problem. Now, if I stub my toe, I'm down for like a week. So it's stuff like that, that for a long time, I kind of wrestled with the same question that Eldrin did. It's like, when you can't rely on that identity of anymore and the life you built around it, who are you? Like what defines you now? So I wrestled with that for a long time. Even when I was writing, it kind of got to the point where I was peeling back layers of myself and trying to figure out like what's going on. So for Eldrin, he starts in that space between who he was and maybe where he's going or who he's going to become. And I think for us, that's where the real growth and healing happens. And as you mature and you kind of go and you have those difficult conversations, I think that's where the real journey begins, is when you start looking within instead of outside, acceptance, looking for that next title, looking for that next quest item.
Yeah.
You just sit in your own pit and you just kind of work out the stuff that's within you.
It's interesting because a lot of the books that we read in fantasy and lit RPG and progression, a lot of them are focused on like where you're at in your teens and your 20s, where you're like picking up the sword and you're going out there to conquer the world, however that looks, right?
Mhm.
Um, and and I love the perspective of this because it really is, the glory days are past. How do I sit still to some extent? Like, what's next if the next thing isn't glory,
Yep.
in a traditional sense? Um, and yeah, I mean, just it resonates, right? Now, I think one of the questions I have as a writer and a reader is, you know, we all are going through our personal struggles and stuff, and trying to hold on to mental sanity and through our lives and in the world today, right? But in your book, you have a lot of just like real there's just a ton of quotable moments, a lot of just like heartfelt advice. There's just a lot of heart in this book. What were some of your inspirations, outside obviously of your like personal life and personal experience? Yeah, I tell people, I'm like, oh, Lance has got the heart of a poet because there's just some real poetic sort of like moments and phrases and advice that you've got in here. So what's some of your inspiration here?
So it's kind of a little bit of everything. So a lot of the truths from this book is from lived experiences, right? So the military culture, like we talked about, the brotherhood, the found family with all that, the understanding that, as I've gone through it, healing isn't linear. So you don't wake up one day and just feel fixed. You got to kind of take one step at a time and then another. And sometimes those steps are forward, sometimes they're backwards. But one of the biggest influences on the emotional framework, I guess you could put it, for the book was a non-fantasy book. And I kind of talk about this with a lot of people that'll that'll listen because not everybody's big on mental health and kind of looking into that stuff.
Yeah.
But there's
What's
a
the book?
book,
Let me put it in the chat.
yeah, it's called "Think Like a Monk" by Jay Shetty.
Okay. Somebody else will have to look up the name because
Yeah, it. When I started going through, and much like I depict with Eldrin's journey, going to a therapist, I had never gone through that, and my therapist gave me a lot of books to read, and I really powered through everything, but that was the one that even now I will listen to it every now and then, or I'll pick it up and I'll read it. I have it on my work desk all the time, and I'll just flip it open and read something. But I think that book just hit me at the right time in my life and things that I needed to hear. So, like, what I loved about it, it wasn't just the idea of like meditation and the monk philosophy. It was like the discipline of that perception, the idea that you can train your mind the same way you would train your body. So that you can turn thoughts that you're having, negative thoughts, and that kind of really at times we hurt ourselves with our own negative thoughts, that
Mhm.
you can kind of like train yourself to say those aren't facts. That's just fiction and you're making it up. So that identity isn't like really fixed within your mindset, so you can change it. And you can kind of turn that pain into purpose. So that's kind of where I kind of do post sometimes on Discord. I do it sometimes on Facebook, but I'll call it like the monk mind or the Minotaur monk mind. And I always jokingly call it that, but it's kind of real for me, and it's that discipline of showing up even when you really don't feel like it, and observing your thoughts instead of being ruled by them. It's kind of taking a step back and asking yourself, is this voice helping me or harming me? Because we have emotions, and there's a couple like fear and anger that always have like that negative connotation that they're bad, but they're there to protect you, they're there to help you. And so Eldrin's journey kind of mirrors that philosophy. He doesn't defeat the inner demons, right? The whole idea is there's not a one-stop shop to fix it. So he doesn't defeat the inner demons. He learns how to kind of sit with them. It's not like learning a spell that can, cast them away or get rid of them. It's really to sit there and acknowledge them, to speak truth instead of hiding behind silence and just kind of sitting in your, with your own thoughts and just kind of talk yourself through them and kind of, over time learn that, strength can be it can look in different many ways as like being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And sometimes sitting in silence and not working on yourself or not seeking help and that kind of stuff is more dangerous than failure. So that act to not move and kind of stay put. How Eldrin kind of he wants to leave. He wants to get out of the house, but because he's trying to get a routine. And anybody that's on a mental health journey knows that like one day we're doing horrible, the next day we're like, hey, what fixed me? We don't
Yeah.
know. And like
You and I just had this
yeah,
conversation this week where we're both having a good week, and we're like,
don't question it because
yeah,
you never know. Could it
yeah,
be the walk? Could it be the workout? Could it be a diet change? We don't know. And I think for a lot of things, like when I first started trying to seek help, I had a lot of doctors, both male and female, that would be like, "Oh, you're a guy. Just go for a run. Go work out. Go lift." And I'm like, doesn't always work. But turning to books and reading from somebody that's got probably a smarter perspective on stuff. I
hmm,
mean, the monk-like mind discipline of awareness, of stepping back from your own shit, your own storm. I mean, it helps so much, and I've really baked that all down into the story, because fantasy really gave me a way to externalize it. Instead of just saying, like, "Hey, I have anxiety," I could twist the story, create fog, you know, I
hmm,
could thicken that fog with emotions. Instead of just saying trauma, I could fracture ley lines. Instead of saying identity crisis, I could take magic away, or all kinds of
yeah,
different things like that. And honestly, with that book in mind, like if you go back and you open up a page and then read something I wrote, it kind of makes sense because then, I mean, a lot of Jay Shetty's tone, if you listen, I think it might still be on YouTube, but if you listen to the audiobook, he's got a very poetic tone. Every line means something, it kind of hits. And that's kind of how I wrote. And I
yeah.
didn't realize that until I went back in those early edits and started realizing that. But I think it worked for what I needed. And in essence, I think it kind of worked out quite well for me on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That poetic tone serves you really well. Um, and the metaphors of, what is the fog, what is there's a couple battles in here. It's not all just, the main
Doom
character
and
just kind of
gloom.
wonder. Yeah. There's some battles and some self-discovery and all the things that you kind of look for in a fantasy, but like you do have this like poetic way. And so that's why I couldn't just speed read it, because I was
Mhm.
just sitting with every chapter being like, okay, well, what does this actually mean? And yeah, yeah. So something that hit me more personally that was in there was this idea that like when you're grieving or you're suffering, that sometimes like I have had a lot of loss in my life recently, and I think that from like a stoic mindset, sometimes we think that um, that suffering is remembering or like honoring like somebody that you've
Mhm.
lost, and you worked kind of through that in the book, and it helped me kind of make a like self breakthrough about like, right, yes, like remembering somebody is honoring them. Suffering alone is maybe a less healthy way to cope with grief and stuff. And I know that's I'm not I'm like I think I'm butchering the explanation, but like that's the sort of stuff like you do really help progress things. You've helped progress things in my mind. So thank you for that, Lance. You don't get that out of every fantasy book you read.
Yeah,
So
appreciate that. No, and you
yeah.
didn't butcher it. You kind of really, I mean, it's a hard thing, and a lot of us go through our own shit, and we all think we're alone on an island. But if you like open up and you start talking to people, some people are going to understand, some won't, and you got to kind of lean into the people that understand that,
Yeah.
and use them as like your pillars and stuff because it'll help out. And going through, I think a lot of not just therapy, but reading and kind of seeing different perspectives on mental health. It really helped calm me down. And there were days that a lot of that information didn't help. It kind of did the opposite. It kind of would get
You
me
get mad
irritated.
about it. Yeah.
I would get more upset, and
Mhm.
I would wait till everybody would go to sleep at night, and I'd come in here and I'd sit down and I'd write, and it would be 2 or 3 hours of just listening to music and crying my eyes out, just being completely vulnerable and being upset at the world and not understanding what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that vulnerability is a real strength to put in the world, and and share it and help people. And so thanks for being vulnerable for the book. Let's talk about something lighter. But if you're listening in, feel free to pop some of your questions in the chat. I know not everybody's gotten to the book, but I mean, we all know Lance, right? So pop your questions in the chat and we'll get to them.
Anything.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit lighter here, though. One of the things that's unique about the book too is that you're the main character's wife is gets this gift from Eldrin, and it's this arcane cookbook. And you have some of those recipes in the book, like you list out the ingredients and stuff. And so, some of the recipes are magical, so maybe have a little bit of a hard time repeating them at home. But are these recipes based on real recipes? And is there a baker in your life that's inspiration?
So they are real recipes. I was reading a lot of cozy fantasy when I sat down and started the first couple of chapters, and I was reading to the point where I read a couple of stories where they were making certain items and food items, and I was like, oh, you could really have fun with like world building and the different alchemy and ingredients. But absolutely. So my wife, Tiffany, is the one that bakes. She does all that. So
I kind of suspected.
she is very much in the book as Eldrin's wife, Tavariel. I really wanted to try to put her name in there some way. So, I always refer to her as Tiff. So that's where the Tiv kind of part came through.
Mm-hmm.
And then, unbeing known to everybody else, I really like a couple of Disney movies, Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid being it. So that's where the Ariel part came in. But she is the grounding force in my life. So in the book, Tavariel bakes from that book, The Garden of the Gold. And those scenes, as I wrote them, like I was having fun, and they turned very deeply personal once I started understanding not just the relationship that Eldrin was getting from his wife, but like how it mirrored Tiffany and I's relationship. And Tiffany is probably the best relationship I could ever ask for. She is very supportive. Oh, good Lord. She's always been there for me. And so there are nights where she doesn't know what to do for me. And, but she knows how to cook. So like food is her care. So it's her love. And so it's her way of saying, hey, I see you. And I wanted to show that magic isn't just in spellfire or in an enchanted, sword. I wanted to show that it could be in a kitchen, and with her and in Eldrin's wife, it's in patience, right? And it's in the hands that people that feed you when you don't have the strength to feed yourself or take care of yourself. And it kind of falls back on a key thing of love, right? Because that's real world magic. And when you have that support, to have somebody love you when you can't love yourself and you can't find the energy, but they'll just sit there with you. It's the thing that makes you shake your head and think, man, like how can they sit around and still be here? But I'm getting emotional talking about it because I'm so proud to have her. I don't think I would have made it the last maybe year and a half, 2 years had it not been for her, because even last year going to Lit RPG Con, I almost didn't go. That almost fell through. And then last minute, she's like, I'll take off work. I'll go with you. She hadn't flown since she was a kid. And so she's like, all right, well, I'll fly. She's scared the whole way. And she kind of helped get me through Lit RPG Con. And then once she saw us interact and have our night, she
made our couch of destiny where we sat all night on that couch.
New achievement. Like
we have to. I'm going to write a couch of destiny in a book. This is a thing.
I want to see it in book 2 of Stumbling Up.
Yeah, I'm in edits right now, so maybe yeah. Yeah, no, really glad that she got you to come to Lit RPG Con and we were able to meet. And yeah, she sounds like amazing, and you can feel that love that you have for her in the characters' interactions. Yeah, I might ask for the non-magical version of some of those recipes so that we can try them out.
Yeah, I think a couple people have asked me about the pumpkin bars, so I'm probably going to have to ask Tiffany to put something together before April for the April trip, but
yes,
we'll get it. I'll work my magic.
Yeah.
I'll take her out for a nice Valentine's Day weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those who don't know, Lance and I are road tripping together to JordanCon. So it's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even better with pumpkin bars. Dun dun
Oh yeah, I'm gonna smooth her over and get all kinds of stuff from her.
victory. Yeah. All right. Well, we've got some audience questions, so let's get to a couple of those. Um, Another rando is asks, what do you think the one thing that sets your books apart from most books in the fantasy genre?
I mean, we kind of touched on it earlier, but I think for Arcane Tides, it's really not about, it isn't about a hero rising to power like we mentioned. It's about a hero who's already lost it and kind of trying to find himself. But instead of changing, and chasing prophecies or defeating a dark lord, right? That kind of stuff. The story's really exploring PTSD, identity, brotherhood, and healing as like the true battleground, those emotional standpoints, which I mean, really you don't see a whole lot of. Um, but I think too with it, magic in my book isn't just a system. It kind of mirrors the emotional restoration through the entire journey and growth. So it comes from that instead of just conquest.
Yeah.
But I think, and it's a mantra that I stay with all the time is, I always, and I say it quite a few times in the book in different ways, but keep it moving forward, right? And choosing to move forward.
Hmm.
At its heart, I think it's a fantasy about staying and reconnecting and rediscovering that worth was never tied to that power in the first place. And I think in our everyday life, if we can look at that, that's kind of what can be that healing journey. And I think that's kind of what sets it apart. But I mean, at some point, if somebody finds something that is close to it, please tell me because I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of books out there I have not read.
Well, I think that as fantasy authors, as lit RPG authors, wherever you're at, you get told that like it's about the battles, it's about the fight, like that emotion and that depth doesn't sell for whatever reason.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I don't know. You guys tell us. Do you think that like does emotion sell? I mean, your sales have been pretty good, Lance, for a debut novel. So,
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
surprised.
I think that, in some respects, you put like the sales aside, and
Mhm.
we've talked about this. Like, what's the purpose of writing a book? Like, you're putting this out in the world. What are you trying to do with it? Is it sales or is it something else? Maybe you can talk a little bit about, what you're hoping the book does.
When I first wrote it, um, I was told to sit down one night for my therapy and write about it was like a writing prompt of like the seven C's or eight C's or whatever, And I sat down and I started writing and I thought, okay, let's see where this goes. I don't know what this is. I've always wanted to write. But I had a small group of buddies that were kind of helping in those early stages of just like reading and hearing about it. And they really supported it at the beginning. And they're like, man, you really understand this mental health stuff. And you're like very open, honest, and genuine with how you are. And at first, I was very vulnerable with it. I didn't want to share it. I had a lot of people that kind of mistook it for a lot of different things. But a few people did reach out and they're like, oh, so what we see on social media, your life isn't perfect. And it's like, no, like the social media is just all the
Yeah,
good
that's
times,
a
right?
thing. Yeah.
We don't post all the bad stuff. And people always look at stuff through, cloudy lenses, right? But I think really, if somebody can read the book at 2 a.m. and think, oh, this is this is me, like this, I understand. I'm not the only one going through it, and it can help them. Like that's the only thing I can really hope for because it was never, the book was for me. It was for me to try to go through some stuff, check off a box of always wanting to write a book as a kid, and then as people read it and they say, "Hey, this is really good. You understand mental health." I've had some people tell me I need to write a mental health book, um, and I just think if somebody else can read it and understand, like it doesn't matter how good your life looks online. Like we're all struggling,
Hmm.
and not everybody's capable of spouting off like raising their hand saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going through bad days too," or "I have this going on." A lot of people are just very good at hiding that kind of stuff. And not
It's the
sure.
social media, like, it's the happy face all the time, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I agree. Well, I mean, the book gets pretty honest about a lot of it, especially, the grief, there's, like, some of the best, um, examples of anxiety in a character that I've seen in, like, a fantasy novel. I mean, we all have we read those characters all the time that they're like, "I'm gonna run into this battle, and I've got a pang of fear," and, like, that's it, right?
Mhm.
Um, how many characters have you read about that are feeling anxious about walking out of the door, right?
Yep.
Outside, and how that manifests in a person.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all there. We've got another question, the Ash Lyrney. I'm sorry if I messed up your name. If you could tell your protagonist one thing after finishing the book, what would it be?
Mm, that's a good one. It's gonna be okay. I think that's really wow. That's emotional as I say it. Um, you're gonna be okay. Like it's gonna be all right. You like the stuff you're going through right now. It seems tough, but just keep going. And it's easy to say that, but there's a lot of nights that I did not have the best intentions on what I had going on in the future or what I might be doing next. And so you're gonna be okay. You're gonna get through it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. All right, we've got another one from Wilkie. Um, how have you felt your time in the military affected your writing? Do you feel you've written some of your military mates into the book?
Hey Kyle. So yeah, I have. There's quite a few. There's a couple of characters that I've kind of had to merge. There was a lot of loss on my at my command, and so we lost a lot of people, and it was very weird because you would expect people here and there to pass, um, but we had so many. Like I remember the first or second week of being on my ship, we had a girl in our division just pass away in her sleep, and never knew why. Um, there's a couple of characters that Eldrin really kind of stews over. His adventuring party that goes missing. Those are all friends that I've lost. Um, there's a couple of people that are sprinkled out throughout the story that they're no longer here. The one I had the most fun of writing about was in the later chapters. Tink, who's a gnome artificer tinkerer. That's based off of a girl that was in my shop. She was hilarious from day one that she came onto the boat. Um, and she just like so full of life and so willing to help and learn. And she was great to have around and building that camaraderie with them. And then you know I got out, and I think it was maybe a month or two after I got out, she had passed away from some type of deficiency that she had acquired from being in the military, not getting the right nutrition. And so it kind of became a kind of a love letter to a lot of the people I was in the military with, because it sucks. I mean, I've mentioned this before. I haven't really said it to a whole lot of people on social media. In the last year, I've had two friends take their lives, and both times have been when I've been present on the phone with them, and it gets really hard. Because you build a circle, you build a brotherhood with people, and you come from all different walks of life, and you're just trying to find your place in the world. You're trying to get a career, you're trying to get college paid for, you're trying to see the world, whatever it is. And all the stuff that separates us and divides us as a society goes away. And you have this family, this found family that's so great. And then one day they're not there. Like you get out of the military, you go back home, you go do whatever you're going to do, and you lose that. And nobody prepares you for that. I mean, they prepare you as you go in, they prepare you to go to war and be in these harsh situations, but they don't prepare you for all that loss. And
Mhm.
maybe losing friends, like when you graduate high school, you outgrow people and you move on. But when you're still technically a kid, I still think as my young being in my young 20s, right? I still think as a kid, you're losing a lot of friends before you're 24, 25, and you get home and you're trying to find yourself, and it's horrible. But there's a lot of callbacks to a lot of those people. every character is somebody from either my time going back to school here recently or in the military.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that comes through too. There was one there was one moment where I was reading, and there's this character who's a bit of a jerk, and I like messaged you in the middle of the night. I'm like, Lance, whoever that person is, you need to stay away from them.
There's been a lot. There's been a lot of people that have texted me and they're like, "Dude, who is this? You say you wrote people in. Who is this person actively like hanging out with you?" And I'm like, "No, no, I haven't talked to that
Yeah,
person in going on 6, 7 years now." So yeah,
yeah.
that one we don't have to worry about anymore.
Yeah. Well, if you got more questions, put them in the chat. We're going to talk a little bit less about Arcane Tides specifically, and a little bit more about your writing process. So I know that you talk about writing at night. You obviously were using it a little bit as like a therapeutic sort of outlet for yourself. But how did you manage to? I mean, you've got kids, you've got a full-time job. Like, how did you manage to write this book? How long did it take you?
So I graduated with my master's from OU at the end of 2024, and it was probably mid-December. I told my group, I was like, "All right, I'm going to write a book," and that group was like, "Oh, dude, that's going to be so great." And so from then until May timeframe, I kind of started every night. It was just writing a couple of words every night, trying to figure out what I was going to write because I didn't
Mhm.
know what I was going to write. Um, but it's really just sitting down at late at night after everybody's gone to bed, or getting up early before everybody's up for school, and just sitting, writing maybe a chapter. And then when I realized, oh man, trying to do a chapter a day is hard for me because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so it turned into, okay,
A
well, let's just
chapter
say,
a day is hard for everybody but Jay Krause.
I was about to say, Jay is a douche rocket.
Yeah.
Need to get on that Adderall that he's on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so a chapter a day was a little too much. Sorry to interrupt your flow
No,
there.
you're good. No, it just got to the point where I had to start setting goals of like how long I was going to write, and kind of just kind of going through it and figuring out what the story was going to be, because there was a lot that I cut out where I put certain quests in there or throwback chapters that were quests that kind of interfered with Eldrin's, healing journey and stuff like that. And so it really just was writing when I had the time outside of my 9 to 5 and the stuff I had with the kids. But I also do a lot of like notes on my phone, or voice notes. So I would go for a walk and I would talk constantly into my phone as if I was writing. The only
Mhm.
problem was when I got back to the house, the dictation didn't always look right. So then I'm trying to figure out why a crocodile was involved in my story. And I'm like, man, I must talk like a hillbilly that the phone
Yeah,
can't pick up what I'm
yeah,
saying. But yeah, it was just kind of just doing it as like a side hobby, like you would do with homework on the weekend or something like that.
yeah. And how long was it? How long did it take again?
About 5 months.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's pretty darn good as like a side hobby, like voice note and making it up as you go along. Yeah.
Make it till you make it.
Yeah, right. What are some of the things that you did? Because like on your Discord, if you're on Lance's Discord, I mean, if not, go join it. But if you're on Lance's Discord, sometimes you post things that are like motivational, or like you have quests for yourself, like
Mhm.
personal quest objectives for yourself and stuff. Talk to me about like how you stayed motivated to get your work out, or like how do you stay motivated in some of your personal goals?
So a couple of years ago, I started seeing, I think it was more fitness type people doing like goal sheets or goal boards, right? Where they would have a whiteboard and they would write, fold the laundry, do this, do that, whatever their checklist was. And then I read a book, and I forget the admiral's name at the moment, but most people have seen his motivation about like get up and make your bed kind of thing, right? And
Hmm.
despite what kind of day you're going to have, get up and make your bed. So when I started really trying to fix my mental health, I was trying to find ways that I could kind of break things down a little easier. And so for like me, my brain understands quests.
Yeah.
So instead of saying write a novel, that seems kind of overwhelming for somebody, right? So I just said, okay, complete chapter 7. Maybe we have 1,500 words. That seems more doable,
Hmm.
So I kind of had fun with it. On most days, I really kind of take that discipline that I've learned from like childhood to military to now as an adult, and kind of gamified it, with like XP progress bars, weekly objectives.
Yeah.
It sounds silly, but like for everybody in the lit RPG community, it's like, oh yeah,
we all got it.
you guys all get it. But I know a lot of my other friends are like, dude, why are you doing that? And but for me, it helps because it works, and especially with balancing my job, my family, trying to be creative. So it's an easier way to get those small wins without overloading and being like, oh, I have so much to do. It's like, okay, break it down, have fun with it, earn some stat points that don't mean anything, but it's fun to have that creative little wheel going on.
Yeah, just trick. Yeah, I actually use a program called For the Words, and it's this like gamification of writing where you write words to defeat monsters, and there's just something just like sneakily satisfying about it that it's actually been the one productivity tool that's really gotten me there in the last couple of years. So
I know I always go start and I always drop it. I never finish it.
Yeah, I do almost all of my drafting in there. Yeah, I don't know, but gamification. All right, we've got some questions. Comrade Red Menace is asking you, what would you say something that you used to value that you no longer value anymore after writing about Eldrin and his healing journey? That's a good question. Yeah.
So writing a character, and this kind of, let me preface it. Writing Eldrin, I did not know Eldrin was going to be a lot of extensions of me, right?
Yeah.
So you start learning stuff about yourself, and towards the end of the book, when it got a little harder to write emotionally, I think it came to being understood, right? Being misunderstood by people can only meet you as deeply as they have met themselves, which means that, some people simply won't have the ability to understand you. And you know what? That's completely okay. You don't need to fight every battle to be heard, to be seen, to be approved of in somebody else's mind, right? Sometimes it's okay to say, you know what? We don't get along. We don't understand each other. Just let it be, and kind of just let that go off how it needs to be. There are no words that you can say that you can speak to somebody, no enchantment that you can do that can reach somebody who's committed to misunderstanding you. Some people don't really listen to understand. They listen to confirm the story they've already decided on. So you can explain to yourself clearly, calmly, honestly, emotionally, but they've already twisted that, right? So in the end, you're going to lose trust in yourself, respect, and your whole sense of reality by focusing on that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's okay to be misunderstood. Yeah. Don't fight every battle with everybody.
Yeah. That's good. Solid. See, this is the sort of stuff you're gonna get in the book. So go read it if you haven't already. All right, next question. First of all, I'm sorry, Ashley. Apparently, it's been a while since I butchered somebody's user handle that badly, but yeah, Ashley Renee. When writing, do you prefer to outline or to improvise? Are you a plotter or a pantser, Lance?
So when I wrote this book, I was a pantser, and now I think I'm more of a hybrid, but I think that's because I'm second guessing myself. And we kind of discussed this, right? Like looking at all the different writing information. So like right now, what I'm working on, I've kind of outlined emotional beats, but I'm such a perfectionist that I'm trying to learn how to be better at that. So I'm turning those like points into like character revelations, major arcs. I'm trying to get better at that and try to understand that. But really, I'm just trying to get the scenes out that I need to do, and then trying to learn to just give myself some grace and just let it be, because I think that's what's hindering me so much on being a writer is I'm trying to, and it's with everything with me. I always want to be the best at what I'm doing at the time. So if I think I might've mentioned this to you. I know I've mentioned it to a buddy at work, but there's a video of Stone Cold Steve Austin, where he's talking about working at McDonald's. And he's like, you know, if I'm going to flip hamburgers for a living, I'm going to be the best goddamn hamburger flipper there is. And that's kind of how I am. I don't look at it as a negative of being a perfectionist. It's just like, I want to learn a craft and I want to be really good at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think one of the struggles that you and I have talked about is that desire to be really good at it, and how sometimes that can be an enemy because it prevents you from just doing it. And part of getting to be the person the author that you want to be is to just do it too,
Mm-hmm.
right? The experience of it. Yeah, but yeah, it looks like we've got. It looks like is that the admiral you were looking for?
What was the name?
William McRaven.
Yes, that's it. Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
He's
So
written a
thanks.
couple of books.
Yeah. Thanks, Derek. All right. Ashley has another question. What snack or drink fuels most of your writing sessions? Is it pumpkin bars or?
Oh man. You know, if there's nights that Tiffany was cooking while I'm writing, I tend to kind of go to the kitchen with the laptop. You know, I'll pick it up and I'll kind of
Mhm.
walk in there. Usually I will just sit down with a hot tea and
Yeah.
you know, I'll graze. I'm like Cowman is a grazer. I will go where the refreshments are and I will
Yeah.
bring back whatever I need to, but it's usually a hot tea, hot
Yeah.
with some honey and lemon in it.
There you go. There you go. Hot tea with honey and lemon. Is it just like herbal tea, or is it just straight up like Earl Grey, or what?
No, I mean, I kind of bounce around between whatever I can find in there. Usually there's some Earl Grey. There might be some, always mess this up. Chamomile? I think it's the word.
Chamomile. Yeah.
Yeah, I always mess up that word. I don't know why. My daughters laugh at me because they're like, Dad, are you saying it wrong? You're saying like it's camel.
You just need to lean into that. Just say it even more ridiculous every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody's got a question about audiobook. I think you have recently decided that you're going to put this on audio. Yeah. Tell us
Yes.
about the audiobook version.
So, in kind of getting with the indie author community that I've been friends with online for the last year, I came across a couple of different narrators in some different discords, and I came across somebody that we all kind of know. We've heard of James Cheatham, who does Doug's book elsewhere.
Mhm.
Me and James kind of hit it off maybe a year ago through Discord, just talking back and forth, getting to know each other. He's also a veteran, and there was a couple of times where I would listen to any kind of audiobook he was doing because he does a whole range of stuff. He just doesn't do lit RPG. He does a lot of stuff. And I would listen to his voice and I'd be like, I think this is it. This is the guy. But I had such a pullback because of wanting somebody that understands that battle to read my thoughts and my work. But then after I got over that anxiety, I was like, oh, James will absolutely nail what I'm trying to do, and he will understand it. So me and him have tagged up in the last week or so, and we've got our agreement, and he's going to start in April. And so I got a couple of things that I need to do to get him a manuscript over, and then I got to work on an image for actual audiobook when it gets published.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the audiobook cover sneaks up on you because it's a different size than your regular cover. So it's
It's a pain.
it's like there's a conspiracy, I think, with the cover artists. Yeah. Well, that's awesome to hear. I know it's funny because you go through, especially when you're doing the self-publishing route, right, as an indie author, and you spend all this time getting your book out, and it's like exciting, you've got your book out, and one of the first questions you're always asked is, when's the audiobook coming out? And I think people, I mean, it's a big decision to decide to go audio because it's an investment that doesn't always pay off. Audiobooks can be pretty expensive. So I'm glad you're taking that leap. I think this is going to be a great book for audio too, especially with somebody with so much like heart and investment in the story as well. So.
Yeah, he does. If nobody's ever heard anything from James, go check him out. Like, he's really good. I've sat in a couple of sessions with him because he has his own Discord where he records, and I've sat in there with him and Doug some days. And he has a range, and I did not realize it one day. And I messaged him afterwards, and I was like, I love the voices you did. I did not know you had that range. And he's like, oh, thank you so much, man. I was like, I did not know you could do a woman's voice. And it surprised me because I always picture those weird men doing the women's voices, and it's just like, oh, hello, how's everybody doing?
Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, Doug says if you need any tips and tricks for dealing with ACX, hit him up, and I agree with that. He actually has helped me work through like getting the pre-order up process started with my audiobook. So Doug is a legend, and Doug's book is Elsewhere, and that's another one that James narrates. So check it out; it's a good book too. So
Thanks, Doug.
yeah. All right, so we're getting close to the end of the hour. So let's get a couple more questions. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat. Don't be shy. This is not the room to be shy in. We're very welcoming of your questions, although I might butcher your name. Let's get to just some business stuff. Audiobook is obviously your next kind of thing, but what's next? I think we're all kind of holding our breath of like, what's next for Lance?
So I have played around with various stories.
I've seen a few of them.
Yeah, I know. There's one I'm working on right now. And I think it's more learning what I've learned from the first book. It's kind of toned down on the mental health stuff, but I find it's weird to say, but I find joy in writing those emotional stories because I think it can be helpful and healing to some people. So I have a story I'm working on that is it's just for the boys, right? It's, basically the guys coming around supporting their friend who returns home from being an adventurer for a couple years, but he's comes home as disabled. And I think it's kind of like a restarting, reclassing. He can't be a ranger out in the wild anymore. So it's time to open up shop and see what else he can do in life.
Yeah, that sounds good. I can't wait to read it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to bug you to get some early chapters over here. What's the best way to contact you? Discord, Facebook, Pigeon Carrier?
Yeah, I was gonna say bat signal. Really, if you type in Krautlarger into social media, you will find me. There's not very many of us. We're all related, so everybody with that name would know me. But I'm not hard to find. I mean, you can find me on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn for corporate stuff. Discord, I have a Discord. So if you join, maybe you'll keep me a little busier in there. I have a couple of channels that I kind of just post to myself, so I stay active, just not all the time.
Yeah, you got a pretty long Wordle streak going in your Discord right now.
Yeah.
It's
like 181, 182 days.
Yeah. Between Brian and
Brian and Jess.
Yeah. We've got a couple more questions that have popped into the chat. So Kalanicious wants to know what keeps you going when you lose motivation. What would your one tip be to folks? Oop, there we go.
Just do something else, right? Move. Don't linger on it. If you can't get to the laundry or something, we'll use something mundane like that. Just focus on another task. Find something to distract you. Go listen to your music, crank it up all the way. Go self-indulge, right? Go to Starbucks, get you a chai latte, go to the bookstore, do a road trip, see your friend in Wichita, do those things that kind of fuel you. Because it works for me, right? When we do our tag ups every now and then, that gets me through a couple of weeks. I can feel really down and, I'll kind of be in a low mood, but it's a quick boost and then I'm good for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, same here. Never regret it. I've actually been trying that strategy lately. Casey Azell suggested it to you that if you're struggling, your chapter is just dragging, just go do something else. Do something physical, do something else, do something that makes you feel good. And yeah. When I was doing an edit today, and it was a struggle bus. I just took the dog to the dog park. I was like, screw it. And at least, I don't think either way was I going to get that chapter edited tonight, but at least I feel good now.
Yeah. You have to do that kind of stuff. I think that's why my mood has changed in the last couple of weeks. Cause it's like, all right, I know I want to write, but let's push it off to the side and let's just go be with the kids. Let's just turn on a movie. Let's go read somebody else's book. Let's just go be present with somebody and just hang out. And I think that's like with my friend Jake going and doing Pokemon cards. Like didn't know I'd be collecting Pokemon cards at 40, but here I am now, like waiting
Hey,
for the convention at the end of the month. So
yeah, I love it. Ashley wants to know if your characters ever show up in your dreams.
oh, all the time, all the time.
Really? Do you
Yeah.
dream in like full color and imagery?
Yes, I
Like,
do.
yeah.
Yes. Yep. I think I had that conversation with somebody else the other day where I was like, "Can you control your dreams?" They're like, "No, can you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "What the hell? How do you do that?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Yeah. Which book was it that gave you that power? I'm like,
Yeah, I don't know
yeah,
where I picked up that skill book. Must have been
yeah.
in a library somewhere.
I love it. James wants to know, do you prefer rum or bourbon?
Ooh, I have gotten very messed up on rum. Either or. It's been a couple years since I've drank. I had a high tolerance before I had my heart attack 2 years ago, so I haven't really indulged. Um, but yeah, there for a while, a lot of whiskey, a lot of whiskey. I think me and Jen talked about that at Lit RPG Con.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta kind of watch what I'm doing. I don't know if I don't have the heart for it anymore.
Yeah. 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 Jen's a whiskey. Yeah. Yeah. Me, I'm Diet Coke pretty much and water and tea. I do the tea now too, like hot
Mhm.
tea, especially with it being cold. Hot tea with a little bit of honey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
helps.
Now everybody's jealous of your lucid dreaming. Um, me included. So, if you had my last question of the night, if you had one book to put on Pop Pop's TBR, anybody's TBR, what's like a book out there that you want other people to read?
Hmm. I would immediately say the Jay Shetty one, but I mean,
Yeah,
Pop Pop's reading so many damn books that
I
it's kind
know.
of hard. Um,
I mean, we got to keep his TBR endless.
I mean, there's a couple that come to immediate mind, and they're not really big books, but the first one in the was it The Monk and Robot by Becky Chambers?
Yeah, Monk and Robot. Yep.
Yeah, that one, and I only like that because it's like I look at my writing, and she is
I know.
way better, and
Have you
it's
read The Small Angry, A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet?
mhm,
Yeah, that one of my favorite. I actually just gave my friend Alicia that book for Christmas because I was like, "Girl, you have to read that. You have to read this."
really good writing. It's
Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I want to get there.
I know. Yeah, yeah, like goals, like Becky Chambers,
Yes.
goals. Yeah,
Yep.
she does such a good job writing from emotion. I mean, you think you're getting this like cozy little sci-fi, and you're like bawling at 2 a.m. in the bathtub.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah,
quit doing that.
I do. I do. Yeah. All right. So, what's next? So, if you are on the podcast circuit, Pop pops up in 2 minutes on the Pop Lit RPG World channel. So go check it out. He is interviewing Alex Karn. It should be great. Lance and I are going to hop over to TikTok here in a couple minutes. So if you want to do like the after party with us, you can join us on TikTok. But go check out Alex Karn and Pop Pop because they've got a fantastic conversation planned and Alex is great. So go check him out. And yeah, Lance, thank you so much for joining. It's been nice hanging out. We gotta get together and hang out in Wichita.
I know,
if
we
you
gotta
if you have any tips for us, because we've done all the major things in Wichita, if you have any hidden gems in Wichita, because it's about halfway between where we live, so we meet up there. Yeah, let us know because we've already hit some of the big spots.
yeah,
So yeah.
even the museums, yeah, we need something new to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, you guys. Thanks for joining me. And Lance, have a good night. We'll catch you on TikTok or at the next Reck interview is going to be a long-winded one. Actually, let me just get the date, which is the 17th, which I think is next Tuesday. So you can catch me on the 17th with long-winded one. We're going to be talking about Get Trucked and the Children of the Cold Moon. And yeah, I'll see you on TikTok. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one.